For decades, Robert Redford has enchanted audiences with his charm, talent, and a life that seemed tailor-made for the silver screen. However, beneath the iconic roles and red carpet appearances lies a deeply personal narrative of love and heartbreak that he has kept concealed. From a whirlwind Hollywood romance to the private moments that shaped his essence, Redford has remained reticent about the one woman who left an indelible impression on his heart. Until now, at the age of 88, the legendary actor has finally revealed the greatest love of his life. Who was she, and why did he keep this secret for so long? You likely recognize Robert Redford as one of the greatest actors of all time, the golden-haired gentleman with a smile that illuminated the screen in Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, or the charming lead in The Way We Were, alongside Barbra Streisand. Yet, long before Hollywood claimed him, Robert was merely an ordinary boy growing up in a working-class family in Santa Monica, California. His father worked as an accountant, while his mother managed the household, and they led a modest life in Van Nuys. This humble beginning was not what one would anticipate for someone who would eventually mingle with the most prominent stars in the world. From an early age, Robert stood out. He was more passionate about art, sports, and the outdoors than academics. He referred to himself as a poor student due to his inability to concentrate in class, but he could certainly focus on the tennis court or wielding a paintbrush. He even had the opportunity to warm up tennis legend Pancho Gonzalez at the Los Angeles Tennis Club. Can you imagine? However, school was not his forte, and he faced challenges when he attended the University of Colorado. Things took a turn for the worse as he began to drink heavily, lost his scholarship, and ultimately was expelled. This could have marked the end of his journey, but for Robert, it was merely the beginning. Following that, he wandered through Europe, immersing himself in life in countries such as France, Spain, and Italy. He lived during this period, he was simply sketching, painting, and contemplating his identity. It was then that the foundation for his acting career was established. By the time he returned to the United States, he was prepared to explore new avenues. He relocated to New York, where he studied painting at Pratt Institute before attempting acting at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. His success was not immediate, there were no significant breakthroughs at first. However, he persevered, accepting minor roles in theater and television. Now, allow me to share the love story that significantly influenced Robert's life. In the late 1950s, he met Lola Van Wagenen, who embodied qualities that Robert lacked: calmness, stability, and a deep-rooted Mormon faith. Originating from Provo, Utah, she was a stark contrast to Robert's Californian background. Nevertheless, they connected profoundly, she recognized something special in him, and he felt the same about her. Their bond was so intense that they eloped in 1958, defying her parents' wishes. Consider this. A young couple, scarcely more than children, running away to marry because they could not bear to be apart. It resembles a tale from a romance novel. However, their early life together was fraught with challenges. Robert was still striving to establish himself as an actor, and finances were tight. They resided in modest apartments, managing to get by on whatever work he could secure. Then, tragedy struck when their first child, Scott, succumbed to sudden infant death syndrome. This loss was devastating, the kind that could shatter anyone. Yet, it ultimately drew them closer together. Lola's resilience served as a pillar of support for Robert during this difficult time. He later remarked that she was the love of his life, and it is easy to understand why. She remained steadfast by his side through heartbreak and uncertainty, always believing in his potential. As Robert's career began to flourish, life became busier and more complex. His breakthrough role arrived in the Broadway production of Barefoot in the Park in 1963, where he portrayed a newlywed alongside Elizabeth Ashley. Audiences adored him, and Hollywood soon took notice. He was on TV shows like The Twilight Zone and Perry Mason before landing his first big film roles. By the late 60s he was a full-blown movie star. You've probably seen him in Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid with Paul Newman, right? Their chemistry was electric and the movie was a smash hit. Suddenly Robert wasn't just an actor, he was a heartthrob, a household name. But fame comes at a cost, doesn't it? Robert was working all the time, often on location for months. Meanwhile Lola was at home raising Their 3 children Shauna, David and Amy. The pressure of balancing his skyrocketing career with family life started to wear on their relationship. Robert has admitted in later years that he regrets not putting his family first more often. He was ambitious, driven and maybe a little too focused on making a name for himself, but back then it was hard to see another way. Even as their marriage struggled, they shared some beautiful moments. Lola wasn't just his wife, she was his sounding board, his confidant. She supported his decision to start the Sundance Film Festival, which became a game-changer for independent filmmakers. It was a passion project for Robert, something that reflected his belief in taking risks and supporting new voices in cinema. Without Lola encouragement, who knows if Sundance would have ever happened. But by the mid-1980s the cracks in their relationship were too big to ignore. They decided to divorce in 1985 after 27 years of marriage. It wasn't a bitter breakup. They remained friends and continued to co-parent their kids. Still, it was the end of an era. Robert later described Lola as the love of his life, a sentiment that speaks volumes about the depth of their bond. Even though they couldn't make their marriage work, she left an indelible mark on him. After Robert and Lola parted ways, his life shifted in big ways, both personally and professionally. Losing that steady anchor of his marriage was tough, no doubt about it, but Robert didn't let the heartbreak stop him. In 1987, not long after his divorce, Robert met Sônia Braga, the passionate Brazilian actress, renowned for her daring roles and vibrant character, quickly formed a connection with Robert, resulting in an electric romance. Sônia was not merely beautiful, she possessed a fervent energy that seemed to resonate with Robert's own intensity. Although their relationship lasted less than a year, it was anything but ordinary. During this time, Robert was engaged in promoting The Monroe Beanfield War, a film he directed that delved into the struggles of a small New Mexico town against avaricious developers. While the film did not achieve significant box office success, it was imbued with heart and purpose, qualities that Robert held in high regard. Being with Sônia felt like a whirlwind, filled with vibrant moments and shared passions. They even attended the Cannes Film Festival together, where they illuminated the red carpet. However, despite their bright flame, their relationship extinguished just as swiftly, and by 1988, they had parted ways. A couple of years later, while filming Havana in 1990, Robert's life took another unforeseen turn with the arrival of Lena Olin, a breathtaking Swedish actress with captivating eyes and an irresistible charm. The chemistry between them transcended the screen, spilling into their real lives. Observing their scenes together, one could sense the undeniable spark and attraction between two individuals who could not overlook the connection they shared. If you were present at the film's premiere, you might have noticed that their kiss was not merely for show, it was genuine. Their romance endured for about a year, leaving a lasting impression. Lena and Robert experienced more than just a love affair. They shared moments of creativity and vulnerability. During this period, Robert continued to make audacious choices in his career. Havana was set against the backdrop of Cuba during the Revolution, a film that felt intricately layered and politically charged. Robert thrived in narratives that possessed depth, and he infused that same intensity into his relationship with Lena. Yet, like many romances in Hollywood, it was not destined to endure, and by 1991, their relationship had come to an end. They had gone their separate ways, yet their time together contributed another chapter to Robert's ongoing narrative of love and life. Fast forward to the mid-1990s, and Robert was once again demonstrating to the world that age did not equate to a decrease in vitality. He starred alongside Michelle Pfeiffer in Up Close and Personal, a romantic drama that had audiences captivated. The film depicted the story of a seasoned journalist who falls for a rising TV anchor, weaving a tale of love, mentorship, and ambition. It is no surprise that at the age of 58, Robert was still portraying romantic leads. With his signature charm and rugged good looks, he made it appear effortless. However, off-screen, his romantic life was also evolving. During this period, Robert was linked to Kathy Oher, a costume designer nearly 2 decades his junior. Kathy was not in the Hollywood limelight, and perhaps that was what Robert found so attractive about her. She was grounded, creative, and provided a sense of stability amidst the tumult of his career. Their relationship was not splashed across tabloids or featured on magazine covers, it was quiet, private, and for a time, precisely what Robert needed. Throughout these years, Robert was not merely acting, he was also directing, producing, and continuing to influence the film industry. He followed Up Close and Personal with the deeply emotional The Horse Whisperer in 1998. Not only did he direct the film, but he also starred in it, portraying a man who heals broken horses and, in doing so, helps a family mend its own wounds. The film was a commercial success, reaffirming that Robert could captivate audiences, whether in front of or behind the camera. By this point, Robert had established himself as more than just a Hollywood star, he had become a cultural icon and a storyteller. Robert was unafraid to embrace risks and engage in significant projects. His commitment to independent cinema through the Sundance Film Festival was transformative, providing a platform for filmmakers who might otherwise remain unheard. It is no surprise that he was respected not only for his talent but also for his vision. However, one aspect of Robert's life illustrates that balancing love and work is not always straightforward. His relationships, whether with Sonia, Lena, or Kathy, represented different phases of his journey. Each woman contributed something distinctive to his life, just as his films revealed various facets of his character on screen. Even his longtime co-star and friend, Jane Fonda, reflected on their bond over the years. Jane once confessed that she had been in love with Robert during their collaborations in films such as Barefoot in the Park and The Electric Horseman. She noted that he was not the easiest person to collaborate with, often arriving late or in a poor mood, yet there was an undeniable magnetism that kept her attracted to him. Their professional relationship lasted for decades, and although it never evolved into a romantic one, it added a layer of complexity to Robert's narrative. As the 2000s approached, Robert continued to broaden his career in ways that transcended the silver screen. He directed The Legend of Bagger Vance, engaged in environmental initiatives, and even ventured into producing socially conscious films like The Motorcycle Diaries. He was a man of diverse passions, consistently pushing forward and evolving. Reflecting on these relationships and experiences reveals a recurring theme: Robert was willing to take risks in both love and work. Whether it involved pursuing a romance with Sonia, exploring a connection with Lena, or finding solace in Kathy's companionship, he lived life to the fullest. Each woman became a part of his narrative, just as each film contributed a new dimension to his legacy. Robert Redford's life took a beautiful turn when he encountered Syl Saggers, a gifted artist and environmental activist. Their meeting was not a typical Hollywood tale, it was simple, authentic, and set against the stunning backdrop of his Sundance Mountain resort. Syl had arrived there in the late 1990s, unaware of Robert's fame. Imagine meeting someone without the preconceived notion of them being a movie star. That must have been a refreshing experience for Robert, who had spent much of his life in the limelight. She later confessed that she had rented several of his films before their first dinner to familiarize herself with his work, yet he did not mention them at all during their initial encounter. That meeting was not focused on fame or films, it was about two individuals forming a connection. Robert once remarked that her lack of knowledge about him as an actor made their relationship feel more human and genuine. Over time, their bond deepened, culminating in their marriage in 2009 during a private ceremony in Hamburg, Germany, Syl's hometown. Syl is an artist, and her creations reflect her love for nature and her commitment to environmental issues. She engages in painting, sketching, and even performance art that honors the earth while raising awareness about the necessity of its protection. Together, Robert and Syl became a formidable team, collaborating as activists. They co-founded a non-profit organization called The Way of the Rain, where Syl's artistic talents and Robert's storytelling merged to advocate for environmental conservation. Robert once stated that Syl provided him with a renewed sense of life, and it is evident how their mutual passion for the environment drew them closer. While Syl became a significant part of Robert's later years, his affection for his children and grandchildren remained steadfast. He and his first wife, Lola Van Wagenen, had 4 children: Scott, Shauna, James, and Amy. Tragically, Scott passed away from SIDS at just 2 months old, a loss that left an indelible mark on Robert. In interviews, he has expressed that the pain of losing Scott has never fully dissipated, it has shaped him and perhaps intensified his perspective on life and family. His second son, James Redford, closely followed in his father's footsteps. James was an exceptional filmmaker and environmental activist, utilizing storytelling to illuminate significant issues. He directed documentaries and engaged in projects that underscored the urgent necessity for organ and tissue donation after undergoing 2 liver transplants himself. Together, James and Robert co-founded the Redford Center, a non-profit dedicated to producing films that inspire environmental change. The loss of James in 2020 to liver cancer was yet another devastating moment for Robert. He characterized James as a person brimming with hope, always dedicated to improving the world. James left a legacy not only as a filmmaker but also as a father and a source of inspiration for those who knew him. Robert's sorrow for James was profound, yet so was his pride in his son's achievements throughout his life. Robert's two daughters, Shauna and Amy, also embody his creative spirit. Shauna, born in 1960, became an artist in her own right. Although she maintains a low profile, her work and family life reflect the quiet strength that her father has always admired. She married author Eric Schlasser, and together they raised two children, Micah and Connor, who are now forging their own paths. Amy, the youngest of the Redford children, is another creative powerhouse. She works as a filmmaker, director, and producer, merging her father's storytelling instincts with her own vision. Amy has directed feature films, music videos, and even short films, all while raising three daughters. Her work embodies her commitment to amplifying women's voices and embracing the challenges of motherhood with creativity and determination. Robert's influence is evident in her ability to balance both family and career with passion. Additionally, there are the grandchildren, totaling 7 in number. Robert has discovered joy in observing the next generation flourish. His grandson, Dylan, for example, has embraced the family's legacy of filmmaking and even persuaded Robert to lend his voice to a film titled Omnio, a fast-paced fantasia. Can you envision Robert Redford voicing a dolphin? This serves as evidence that he has not lost his sense of humor or his eagerness to support his family's creative pursuits. As his family expanded and evolved, Robert continued to work diligently. In the 2010s, he undertook some of the most intriguing roles of his career. In All Is Lost, he portrayed a man stranded at sea in a film that featured almost no dialogue. It was merely him, the ocean, and the narrative of survival. Critics hailed it as one of the finest performances of his later career. He followed this with an unexpected role as the antagonist Alexander Pierce in Marvel's Captain America, the Winter Soldier, where fans relished seeing him as the mastermind behind Hydra, a stark contrast to the heroic roles he had previously portrayed. In 2018, Robert declared his retirement from acting after his performance in The Old Man and the Gun, where he played a charming bank robber, reminiscent of his early roles in Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. It was an ideal way to conclude his illustrious acting career, which was rich with wit, adventure, and nostalgia. However, Robert later confessed that he regretted announcing his retirement, stating, "You never know." Indeed, he made a brief return as Alexander Pierce in Avengers Endgame, demonstrating that he still had more to offer. Throughout it all, Robert's passion for storytelling remained unwavering. Whether through acting, directing, or producing, his career has remained consistent. It is filled with roles that have challenged, inspired, and entertained millions. Even in his personal life, he has never ceased to be a storyteller. His partnerships, his work with his children, and his activism all narrate the story of a man who has lived fully and passionately. Today, with Spill by his side, Robert continues to concentrate on what matters most: family, art, and the environment. He once remarked that life is about learning and growing, regardless of age. Reflecting on all he has achieved and the lives he has influenced, one cannot help but feel inspired. Robert Redford is not merely a Hollywood legend, he is a father, a grandfather, an artist, and someone who has never stopped believing in the transformative power of stories. This encapsulates the story of Robert Redford, a life rich in love, loss, and an unwavering commitment to making a difference. If you appreciated this exploration of his remarkable life, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and activate notifications. Additionally, feel free to leave a comment below sharing your favorite Robert Redford role or memory. We would love to hear from you. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next one.